Welcome back. I hope everyone had a great lunch. Yeah? Yeah. Thank you to Catered Affairs. They are delicious. As someone said to me, it is not just a little bit of the rubber chicken in this town. No, no, no. What an amazing meal. So I hope everyone enjoyed their lunch. This afternoon agenda, it's about opportunities. And there's so many different opportunities that we can take advantage of here. And normally at this point I would say, I'm going to invite Clayton Jones to the stage, but Murphy's Law happened is Clayton's not 100% today and did not want to take a risk. But thanks to the technology, we are bringing Clayton in virtually. Voila. Hi, Clayton.
Hey, good afternoon, Ann. How are you?
Good. Okay, we're just going to do a quick sound check there. So can you talk for us a little bit more, Clayton? How's the weather down there?
Well, the weather here, there's snow on the ground. I've got a little bit of a cold that I didn't want to share with everyone. So, but thank you to technology. I'm glad I can take part in this.
Are we good? Can we hear Clayton okay at the back? Yep. Okay, perfect. All righty. So a little unusual, but we had planned for if this happened, because we in this environment that colds can happen and COVID can happen. So we change with it, roll with it, and this is what we do. So Clayton, thanks so much for still agreeing to be here. And I know Jesse, your son, is here. Where's Jesse now? There he is at the back corner. So Clayton, thanks for agreeing to kind of flip on the dime here with us. And, you know, your story, we had talked, our MPP, Mr. Clark here, and I talked about the importance of telling your story. And I thought it needed to be said. So you are my go-to guy when it comes to rail. So maybe before we get going here, tell us a little bit before your life was like before Cruise, your company now. So tell me a little about that background.
Well, sure. I actually came here from Montreal, spent 10 years in the CP rail, the mechanical side of Montreal, St. Luc Diesel. Moved here when my job was transferred to Toronto, and you know, I was given the opportunity to take a mechanical supervisor job for a short line railway here in Ottawa, the Ottawa Central Railway. I fell in love with Eastern Ontario, moved here 24 years ago and never looked back. And started into business in 2004 when I saw a great need for mechanical services to the larger industries that deal with locomotives, have their own locomotives and their own switching and rail cars and their little industrial derailments, and found a great niche in that area.
Fabulous. Thanks, Clayton. Oh, we're good. There we go. So previously you shared, and this is part of why we're here today, you shared with me the history on the region and when it comes to supply chain. Share a little bit about this with the audience and why this region in Leeds, Grenville is so important to not only Ontario and Canada, but share a little about that. What's a little history on this?
No, absolutely. To get back to you know, the history of the region, the Ottawa Valley, the old Prescott subdivision that came down through the Ottawa Valley, down through Kemptville, down into the old Port of Prescott. I mean, that was the original economy of Canada. You know, the fur trade, lumber, and the minerals. It all came down through that little subdivision. And to think that where we are now, strategically, geographically in Canada, we're not central Canada. For argument's sake, we're fairly close. And to think that from the original, you know, the original point in the origination of the economy in Canada, over half the population is within a 5-hour drive east and west of us. East of us would put us 5 hours, would put us in Quebec City. 5 hours west would put us in London, Ontario, and it's over 18 million people. Johnstown was by no accident chosen for those reasons. We have the 401, we have the 416, County Road 2, the Ogdensburg Bridge, within 3 kilometers away, which opens us up to another 35 million people in the state of New York. So it's a very strategic location, and I think it's still to be recognized by a lot of industries. It is starting to be recognized by some, and certainly by us. We have our neighbors, Giant Tiger here, who I'm sure was by no accident that they set up their large distribution terminal here, 600,000 square foot, just not too far from us. And I think there's others to come, and it was very important to set up our kind of services, logistics and rail car services, to be able to not only store rail cars and do our own switching, but to be able to transload from rail car to truck, to put us in the market quicker than they can actually do from Toronto or Montreal. We are in the middle of Toronto, Montreal, 2 hours from Montreal, 3 hours from Toronto, and on the busiest rail corridor in North America, which is between Toronto and Montreal, and the busiest highway in North America is between Toronto and Montreal, the 401. So it's, when all the stars align, it's kind of hard to ignore.
Absolutely. And now, but from the importance of this region and its logistics, but there are still some challenges. Tell us a little about the challenges that you have seen, and then we'll go into knowing these challenges and the problems, and talk a little about crews. So let's go with that.
I'd say the biggest challenges, Anne, would be the nature of wars change, and so does most of our environment. So it's been key for us to collaborate with the with the municipality, with the province to get over some of these hurdles and to keep moving forward, and definitely collaborating with our neighbors and trying to be good neighbors with the community and with other industries in the area.
Excellent. So knowing that the good entrepreneur that you are, there's opportunities, and you say there's opportunities everywhere. And is the mic working okay? Yep, okay, there we go. Share what you mean by your vision and what you see for Canadian Equipment Works and Services, Canadian Rail Equipment Works and Services. And up on the screen, we've got your slide in regards to that.
Well, absolutely. When we started this project 5 years ago, actually in 2016, it was a bush lot, and I had been looking at this property for 2 years previous, looking for a more favorable property to develop. Gravity has adverse effects on rail cars, so we needed a flat piece of land. It wasn't perfectly flat, but with a great deal of fill, it's now flat. So, but certainly when we started this project, customers and the railway was very, very interested, and we soon found ourselves busting at the seams. More customers looking for service and a place to be able to transload. And certainly now we've gone into an expansion here, our phase 4, 5, and 6, where we hope to bring in dry bulk and diversify into different commodities, whether it be grain, dry bulk, container traffic, and certainly would bring a lot more attention to the area. And I believe there's a lot more opportunity for other industries to come to this area.
Maybe share a little bit, and this isn't in our list of questions, but what was happening for some of our businesses in the region in regards to trying to get a rail car to their back door? Some of our manufacturing, and perhaps with Ingredient and some of the others, where they would have to go for that.
Well, sure. They were dealing with railways. The railways are doing their best to accommodate their customers, no doubt. But they're understanding the railway's business model is gross ton per mile. Recognizing that actually making all these different services to customers is not their niche, but it certainly is ours. I mean, local companies like Ingredient and in Vista, down on Nobel. I mean, their cars are coming in through a Class 1 railway and being switched certain only so many days a week. By providing the service that we provide here in Johnstown, we can centralize that service. So what we've done, we've pooled industrial customers together in one location to not only give them service 1 and 2 days a week, but now 6 days a week through pooling their services together, rail cars together in one area.
So previously, I think you had mentioned that, like, for instance, a company would have to store their rail cars in Hamilton, was it? Previously?
In Hamilton, in Brockville, some smaller spurs, some of them even in Ottawa, where, they had to draw from different locations to get their rail cars together to go to different customers. And dealing with the railways in different subdivisions, it was very inefficient and took a lot more time, very time consuming and somewhat unreliable when you're dealing with different areas to try to get cars moved from one subdivision to another. This allowed them to centralize storage and gave them a much more control over how their cars moved and when they moved, and it made them more reliable to their customers, I believe.
So this has been a huge transformation at the Johnstown location, and it's important for our businesses that are using rail. And maybe tell us a little bit more in regards to what that transformation has had, where you're, at the Johnstown yard, and what is happening there now.
Well, we certainly have a great deal of interest, and we're by some larger customers, some of them US, some of them Canadian, and we are very interested in local businesses that do not have an actual rail service. We can provide that rail service for them. There's so much savings in sending commodity by rail car long distance in comparison to trucking, not to mention the environmental advantages. The rail is much more environmentally friendly than the amount of trucks it takes to move one rail car worth of commodity. So I believe we're in a time where we can no longer ignore that, and there's going to be a great deal more opportunity for larger industries to take advantage of a rail service that wasn't available before in the area.
Excellent. Now I'm going to flip to your slide about safety, because we often hear about the different issues with rail. And maybe talk a little about your safety, and then also go into Jones Rail, your sister company there.
Absolutely. I mean, safety is our top concern. We certainly held back we didn't hold back at all in regards to safety here. This yard is a world-class rail yard. The terminals that we have here are fully approved by TSSA. And I would say that the terminals here are the state-of-the-art of Canada. We collaborate with, the emergency response. We just had another session here within the last month of ERAC, just training other industries to come in and provide them with training and familiarize themselves with, with dangerous goods that are traveling. A lot of people think that big black tank cars are, very dangerous. In fact, we travel less than 10 miles an hour here in the yard. There's really no danger of breaking open a rail car here. And with the training that we're bringing into with ERAC, with the emergency response, with the RAC, Rail Association of Canada, with local emergencies, I believe we've made it a top priority for safety, and we certainly want the community to feel safe with us.
Excellent. And now, do you want to talk a little bit about Jones Rail?
Yeah, Jones Rail Industries is our sister company. Jones Rail Industries designs, builds, constructs, and maintain industrial track. We do provide service to the Class 1s, the CNs, the CPs, the VIAs, but they are not our main pursuit. Our main pursuit is providing service to the larger industries. We're getting stretched a little more and more as far as Thunder Bay, maybe even Saskatchewan to Nova Scotia, but we are growing. We have a great team here for both crews and for JRI. I'm very proud of the employees that we have. Everybody makes a great deal of effort to do a job to the best of their abilities. So certainly in the area for track construction, we we think we're the best.
Awesome. Well, this is good. I like when people are not humble because we are great in this region. So this is good. I'm going on to the next slide. It's your 10th anniversary, and you aged me overnight because I didn't realize we had been working together that long. And but you reassured me that no, that's for the entire company. So, but it's phenomenal what has happened, but yet you're not stopped. You're not stopping and growing. You're continuing to grow. And tell us a little about that and what this means for future companies in this region.
Well, for future companies in this region, we, as I mentioned a little earlier, we're going into our expansion of phase 4, 5, and 6. Phase 1, 2, and 3, we can accommodate up to 560 rail cars, and with our additional phases, we'll be able to accommodate over 1,000 rail cars. So it provides more opportunity for, American, Canadian, and certainly local customers to come in and take advantage of the services that we provide that were not available in the area before. The transloading service is certainly of huge significance because it's something that is not really provided by a lot of companies out there. Usually the larger industries, they transload because they have to. A lot of them don't have a lot of opportunity to have someone else transload for them. And that is our specialty. We specialize in transloading and railcar switching, providing the locomotives and the track mobiles and the train personnel, the engineers and the brakemen. And it certainly put us in the forefront of, for rail customers and be able to provide that. So to start talking about customers coming into the area, it's absolutely an advantage and an opportunity for them to take part in that.
Fabulous. And I know, one of the things that we talked about was there was a report done many, or I shouldn't say many, maybe just many years ago by Eastern Ontario. It was one of the CFDC's reports did it, and saying the need for Eastern Ontario and a transloading facility. And congratulations, that has become you, and that is absolutely phenomenal. Maybe you should explain what that means from the Port of Johnstown, as well as from your perspective, from the rail. What does that do for this region?
Well, it was certainly recognized. I think it was back in 2012 when we first started that it was actually put out by the province that Eastern Ontario was in need of a transportation hub. An area where we could, a multimodal hub, where we could be innovative and provide, the liaison between the different modes, whether it be sea to rail to truck. And those elements are all together here in this area. We haven't found a anchor tenant to bring into the port yet, but I really think that it's just a matter of time. We have a port fully functional here in Johnstown, a rail yard with six days service from a Class 1 railway. Like I said earlier, all the stars are aligned, and it's just it's really all coming to fruition. Fabulous.
That's just one of the tremendous assets that we have in this region, in Leeds, Grenville, and it's certainly one of the reasons why Giant Tiger located here, and we're seeing such growth and that in that industrial hub. So, Clayton, thank you for doing that. Are you open to taking a few questions from the audience?
Sure.
All righty, so we're going to put Shelby, if anyone has a question about what's going on in Johnstown with the rail from the business perspective, just put a hand up and Shelby can take the wireless mic out to you. Any questions on that? Okay. You might be getting off pretty easy there, Clayton. Oh, way back in the corner. You're going to get your workout. Hang on, Clayton.
Sure.
I think it's someone from Edwardsburg Cardinal. Steve.
Hi, Clayton. Can you hear me? Yes.
Yes, I
Clayton,
can.
Stephen Dillabaugh, Deputy Mayor, Edwardsburg Cardinal.
Hi,
Thank you very
Stephen, how are
much.
you?
Good. Thanks very much. When you're saying that we haven't found an anchor for the Port of Johnstown, we have to sit down and have a little discussion on that one. But the second question is, are you planning to expand more than what you are now?
Into phase 4, 5, and 6, yes. I mean, those site plan amendments are already passed. We are looking at a future expansion to the north of us, simply to accommodate the amount of traffic that we're bringing in to make it easier for CN to be able to service us. It wouldn't really, doesn't really affect any one particular customer more than the other, but it certainly increases the amount of service that we can get from CN to make it easier for them to be, just to make a hook and haul, a parallel service with the main line. Makes it easier for us to be able to provide switching service for the existing customers we have. It would certainly open up an avenue for a couple of existing customers like Giant Tiger and Greenfield to be able to get a much easier access to service, to rail service.
Thank you, Clayton. Any other last questions? Okay. Zeke over, she's put her jogging shoes on. Of course, the people have to be from one end of the room to the other for questions, so bear with us here. Vanna's running with the mic.
I guess it'll be the front left after this one, so you can start running now. Clayton, Zeke Cox from TD Commercial Financing. You and I have had conversations in the past at events, and you've spoken a little bit today about the interest of clients coming to you for improved logistics is key. Secondly, that we're starting to move, and you started to get into some of the metrics that always blew my mind, of as much as 2 to 3 to 1, the number of cars, or I should say tractor trailers that come off the 401 that we all drove here on today, which is always an adventure. What are the external pressures on that industry that might be moving them towards rail? Is it capacity of roads? Is it labor in that market? I'm just curious what kind of external things you see pushing that type of transportation more towards your world.
It's all of the above, Zeke, and thank you for the question. That's a really good one. The things that are pushing more service toward our kind of service is actually the numbers behind, the stats behind, how many rail cars, how many trucks are involved in one train of 100 cars. So if a 100-car train is equivalent to 300 trucks. So sustainably, 300 trucks off the road with one truck. And it's not like we're looking for truck drivers' jobs. We're not. There's a shortage of truck drivers. It would actually displace those drivers where they're not actually doing the long haul anymore. They would be doing the short haul and actually be home with their families, just like we all want to be. So it's not something that we feel we have to sell. It's something that industries want, that truck drivers want, certainly environmentally to have 250 or 300 trucks not traveling down the highway when they can be on rail pulled with 3 locomotives. I mean, environmentally, the gas house emissions are for rail in comparison to trucking. Trucking is more than 500% more greenhouse gas emissions than the rail industry. So, environmentally, there to think about this responsibly. This is why we're getting customers turning more and more toward us. Certainly, the labor industry is pushing that along also, and just the fact that this service is now here in the industry is very significant. I hope I answered your question, Zeke.
2 thumbs up from Zeke. Excellent. One last question, if there's one. Oh, yep, Mike.
Hi, I was just wondering if it's not freight logistics, but do you have any comment or insight on high-speed passenger rail in the corridor, the chances of it happening, or what you see from your end?
Never underestimate the pride of an area, or the pride of a country, or the pride of a province, a municipality. This would be a fairer question if we had a much higher population, which we don't have. I mean, the population of Canada is pretty well the population of a large Asian city, 35 million. Light rail, certainly as we grow as a nation, I believe light rail will become a more significant pursuit. But certainly right now, as Canada with the second largest landmass country, it's a great more deal of land to travel over than some of the countries with higher populations and lower landmass. It'll be quite a challenge for Canada for quite some time.
Thank you, Clayton. So, thank you for telling your story, what's going on in Johnstown, because it has really made a significant difference to our businesses in this region and what that means in dollars saved and also from a logistics. So thank you for doing such an amazing job in developing this. And for those of you that haven't driven by it, sometimes you just don't even know it's there. And you can look to the left and all of a sudden you'll see a whole bunch of rail cars, and that is Clayton and Jesse's operations. And Clayton, I'm going to give Jesse a thank you gift on your behalf, so you'll have to make sure you get part of that when you get when you see him next. I hope you feel better, and we look forward to reconnecting after this. Take care and have a great weekend.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Jesse, thanks so much. And I think you said you were his representative millennial. Is that what you're going with? Okay. This is good. This is good. So we'll go into our next speaker, and we also have a panel after this speaker, and I don't know if you've been mic'd up. They're all mic'd up. I love when everyone else is helping out here today, so thank you. Next speaker is Understanding RTO 9 and the Opportunities. Tourism was one of the hardest industries hit during the pandemic, especially the hospitality portion. This is a very important sector to our region, and we have multiple destination marketing and management organizations in our region that work with RTO 9 that brings new opportunities to us. I would like to call upon Bonnie Ruddock, Executive Director, to share more about opportunities that RTO 9 presents. Bonnie, come on up.
That's great. Thanks, Anne, and good afternoon, everyone. I can look down here. So in 2009, Provincial Tourism Report was commissioned, and one of the recommendations to the Ministry of Tourism at the time was that they set up funds for regional tourism organizations across the province. So following this recommendation, RTO 9 was set up and established in 2010 as a not-for-profit incorporated business. Each year, RTO 9 enters into a transfer payment agreement with the Ministry of Tourism, Culture and Sport. And this year, our current funding from the ministry is $1.3 million. The organization is governed by a 13-member board of directors, which represents various businesses and operations across the region. The mandate of the RTO 9 is to develop and promote tourism for southeastern Ontario, and we do this in collaboration with our 10 destinations. So just to give you an idea of where our boundaries are, so we go from the Ontario-Quebec border in the east, and we head west right through to Quinte West. We also cover Prince Edward County, and we share the Rideau Canal with two other RTOs, RTO 11 and Ottawa Tourism. So we have a pretty big geographic boundary to cover. When the ministry set up all of the RTOs, they provided guidelines, and part of the guidelines included 5 pillars that we're required to operate under. So those are product development, marketing, workforce development, investment attraction, and partnerships. So I'm just going to give you an idea of a few of the initiatives we've undertaken in the last fiscal year in each of these pillars. So under product development, we've worked on things like itinerary development, experiential tourism training and coaching, and building capacity for Indigenous tourism. Under marketing, we work with our 10 destinations, as well as Destination Ontario, to execute campaigns in categories such as cruising, theatre, and wellness. and we actively engage with consumers on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We also have a consumer website that drives traffic to each of our 10 destinations. We produce a monthly consumer newsletter and regularly run contests in partnership with our stakeholders. Additionally, we have an industry-facing website that we use to promote our workshops, and we also post various reports, such as research reports, on our industry site. We've developed and implemented a workforce development plan over 2 years to help with some of the workforce shortages we have across the region. And some of these initiatives included 2 marketing campaigns, a series of webinars and training opportunities, online courses. We developed an HR toolkit. We've just been working with St. Lawrence College, and we've constructed a mobile training unit, which I was happy to take a look at yesterday. So we're excited we'll be rolling that out to the high schools in the near future. And we're also currently working with Keys Employment to produce an EDI toolkit that will be released soon. In March of 2022, we worked in partnership with our 10 destinations and economic development offices, and we developed a Phase 1 investment attraction plan. The plan identified the current workforce situation, it identified opportunities, and prioritized strategic areas for development for the region. And lastly, we work as a catalyst to build strategic alignment and promote collaboration amongst our destinations and stakeholders. And one of the ways we do this is through our partnership funds, which I'll address later. And just to give you an idea of sort of the tourism funnel, as we like to call it. So we've got industries and businesses, which typically work with your DMO and your DMP, which are your destination marketing organizations and destination marketing programs. And then we have the RTO, so we cover the whole region. So we're the regional tourism organizations. And then we work with Destination Ontario, and they work up with Destination Canada. So although it's a funnel, there's still a lot of up and down and sometimes skipping around. So collaboration does happen, say, between Destination Ontario and industries as well. So I just wanted to give you an example of one of the ways we've worked with our destination marketing organizations in the past. So we collaborated with them on what we called our Drive for Excellence program. So it was a progressive tourism development support program designed to maximize economic impact and long-term value for each of our destinations in the region, allowing the destinations to self-identify their current readiness and needs. So some of the projects we worked on them included content creation and digital asset development, governance strategies, paid search, destination development plans, digital media campaigns, asset development for meetings and conventions, influencers and PR media fam tours, feasibility studies, and video development. So what we do is we really strive to work with the needs of each destination, recognizing that they're not all at the same level of development. When COVID hit, as Anne mentioned, the tourism industry took a really hard hit. So one of the things that we came up with was a Rail and Roam campaign. So this was a partnership between Lansby, a travel agency, Via Rail, and RTO 9. So we launched our Rail and Roam campaign, and the goal of the campaign was to drive interest in winter getaways across the region. So we worked with destinations that were on the rail line, such as Cornwall, Brockville, Thousand Islands, Gananoque, and Kingston. The campaign promoted unique hub-and-spoke winter experiences and stays created by packaging that Lansby created. We promoted safe local travel by train and from key Ontario markets, and Via Rail provided fare discounts for this. The campaign performed really well across all social channels. We had a total of 1.2 million impressions, and we generated 24,875 clicks at a CTR of 2.3%, which is well above the industry benchmark of 0.9%. So we had over 248,000 paid post engagements, which generated including 618 reactions, 48 comments, 83 shares, and 90 saves. And to give you an idea of what one of the packages looked like, we worked with Panagy house in Gananoque. So it included a full gourmet breakfast, a 5-course dinner, helicopter tour, and during the course of the campaign, this package generated the most conversion overall. The Rail and Roam campaign was recently recognized with 3 Ontario Tourism Resilience Awards at the Ontario Tourism Summit this past October. So the value of partnership is really important, so I encourage all of you to do what you do best and partner for the rest. The Great Taste of Ontario. So we participated in the Great Taste of Ontario. It was a provincially recovery program involving 90-plus partners, which were DMOs, RTOs, sector organizations, and media. The program was designed to encourage Ontarians to rediscover the province and to boost regional economies by increasing tourism visits. Its success was dependent on a unique mix of destination development, market readiness training, procurement tracking, and strategic marketing partnerships. The Great Taste of Ontario campaign was centered around a collection of hyperlocal passports that would inspire Ontario residents to first rediscover their home region, and then, when safe to do so, travel around the province. The downloadable passports were created per destination, and we had over 850 passports downloaded from the RTO9 region. Another great example of a partnership that we've done is our cruise campaign. So the purpose of the campaign was to promote different cruises offered in southeastern Ontario. During the campaign period, in partnership with Destination Ontario and our cruise operators, we ran the campaign from May 2nd to June 5th. The campaign metrics were extremely high, outperforming all outdoor product spotlights content due to its targeted messaging for specific product. Overnight water cruising in southeastern Ontario, as well as day trip cruise opportunities in the Thousand Islands. Overall channel impression results for Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram were 6.8 million, with a total of over 105,000 leads to our partners. Additionally, through our agency of record, we augmented the campaign with Facebook and Instagram posts and generated an additional 3.6 million impressions. As I mentioned earlier, we have what we call our partnership funds. So this is a specific amount of money, $219,000, that each year the ministry requires us to match funding with out of our operating budget. So typically we have 2 intake periods, one in the winter and one in the spring. So one will go from April 1st to September 30th, and the second will go from October 1st to March 31st. So this year, the categories we chose to work with our partners on were new and enhanced tourism products, digitizing your business, and signage. This is a 50-50 partnership between RTO9 and our stakeholders, and these funds have been specifically designed to assist tourism operators to grow their business, so all the funds flow into the RTO, and the RTO pays out to third-party services. And what we do too is we really encourage our operators to work with different partners across the region as well, just to enhance the products and offerings that they have. So as an example of one of the approved partnership projects, we worked with Springfield Farm on their Field and Feast Festival that took place this past September. So Springfield Farm partnered with 11 businesses to host the Field and Feast event. The event showcased the importance of agritourism, culinary heritage, and brought together a culinary collaboration between an Indigenous chef and an Irish chef. Guests were treated to a 5-course meal highlighting culture, foraged food, and local farms. Additionally, students from the Akwesasne and Cornwall area were invited to a catered lunch and learn, which gave them an opportunity to learn about the Indigenous and Irish cultures and how culinary tourism is a growing trend for southeastern Ontario. The event was sold out with over 160 guests in attendance. Not only did the guests enjoy a fabulous dinner, they had a chance to experience southeastern Ontario as a destination. Thank you, miigwech, and merci.
There we go. Thanks so much. We do have a few minutes. Anyone have some questions on Bonnie for RTO9? Regional Tourism Organization number 9, and Mayor Peckford, you have a question.
Buying other people time to formulate their questions, but certainly a very impressive list, by the way, of initiatives, clearly compelling, unique. Tell me, where do you think the biggest growth in the market lies, right? We saw some of the ag tourism, right, capitalizing on waterways. Of all of the initiatives and campaigns that you ran, where do you see the biggest opportunity to further leverage some of the destinations? We're very proud of North Grenville and in the United Counties of Leeds and Grenville to really amplify some of what you're doing. So I'd just be curious to know where you think the low-hanging fruit is going forward.
I think experiential tourism is definitely on the rise, so anything you can do in that concept. And the way we work too is we work as a regional tourism organization, so our goal is always to get people to travel throughout the region. So anything you can do that will push travelers to continue on into another municipality or another destination is always something we favor. Because we do cover the whole region. So again, the experiential tourism, agritourism, indigenous tourism, they're all on the rise right now. So anything you can do, people just want to get out. They want to see things. They want to feel things. They want to know where your food came from. They want to talk to you about, how you grow things, where you forage things from. They want to pet your sheep. They want to do goat yoga. They want to do all that great stuff, right? So anything you can do that way is definitely a plus for tourism right now.
Goat yoga, we're going there, are we? Okay. Next activity at the next summit. Another question for Bonnie at all? Do I see it? Okay, I'll give you a question because this happens often in our region. Tell us a little about from media, getting free press. How does a community get free press? And in the way of when we've hosted some media tours through here.
Yeah, no, great question, Ann. We work with a lot of PR, public relations, media people. We work with a company right now called Tartan Bond that helps us make those connections. So it's really important to have those connections with unearned media. To get somebody to come to your community, to stay for a few days, to experience what you experience, and to go home and write about it, to blog about it, to vlog about it. It's crazy. It goes viral on the internet, and you just start to see, people hitting your website after that. So any connections, we do quite a bit of it with the RTO, but we always do it in partnership with our destinations and with our stakeholders. So, we want to go into a community, we reach out to the DMO or the DMP, we say, we've got this great person to come, how can you help us bring this together? So, find us an accommodator, find us an experience for them, find us things to do. Cynthia Peters is here with, and we've done some stuff with Cynthia. So, it's just really good to always partner with somebody.
Excellent. Is Cynthia here?
Yep,
There she
Cynthia's
is.
here.
Cynthia, do you want to I'll get Shelby to walk towards you, talk a little about the type of experiences that you are doing. And in the meantime, Bonnie, film. Tell us a little bit what's going on in film.
Yeah. So over the last course of a year and a half, I guess, we've been working with the Regional Film or Tourism Kingston Film Office on a regional film initiative. So we worked with the film commissioner there to really build up the database of assets and products that we have in the region. So they hired a few students. We went to each of the destinations. We photographed places that would be good for film, hallmark moments, all those great things. All these photos have been uploaded to a database, the Ontario Library database for film. We're also undertaking right now a piece on our website through a program called Real Scout. And what that will do is it will be a one-stop shop for any media people. So they call into the film office and say, what have you got that I can shoot a production for 2 or 3 days in southeastern Ontario? We send them to Real Scout. All the destinations are listed. All the areas are photographed. They talk about, the permits that are needed, how many square feet the buildings are. So everything is covered in that initiative.
Excellent. And we do have some of Leeds Grenville covered. We're going to try and get some more.
Yeah.
And I'm going to talk about, from a regional perspective, what we're doing as a region under my presentation. But I want, Bonnie, this was something that they led and doing a great job. So I'm just going to go over to talk with Cynthia. Tell us about an experience that is happening at your place, because this fits well with what Bonnie is talking about and how others can do this. Go ahead, Cynthia, and maybe introduce yourself.
Yes. My name is Cynthia Peters. My husband and I moved to this region just a year ago now. We were in Prince Edward County, and as I say, we moved down the waterway, just a little east, and we bought, many of you may have known, the old Maplehurst Manor. We bought that and have turned that into a culinary destination. And I have been running a farm-to-table cooking school in Prince Edward County for 12 years. And so we were really pleased to find our new home in this region and to launch the cooking school and soon to be accommodations as well this upcoming summer. But I have worked with RTO9 in both locations, and what has really been evident, certainly the farm to table was new about 10 years ago. It certainly has grown into a really good experiential, popular thing, as Bonnie was saying, and to give people a real opportunity to learn where their food comes. I'm connecting with many of the farmers here, of course, as well, and taking people out to the local markets and connecting with the food and the cideries and breweries and all this wonderful thing. So people are very excited to be in this region, and I'm happy to showcase all the businesses in this industry as part of it.
I'd like, sorry, Ann. I just would like to add that how I feel you are very lucky to have Cynthia within Leeds Grenville now. Cynthia was one of the driving forces behind what has happened in Prince Edward County, and we all know what has happened in Prince Edward County. So I think you're very fortunate to have a real entrepreneur driver like Cynthia in Leeds Grenville right now.
And we do have some amazing products in this region. I'm just looking at Sean from Windmill Brewery and others. So it's a great opportunity to partner and share and make these amazing experiences come to light. Bonnie, thank you. I know you've got a date with a granddaughter birthday.
I do.
So thank you for joining us today. Truly appreciate it. Okay, we're just going to do a quick adjustment to the stage, and we just need to bring a couple of chairs and move a podium, and then Deanna, if I can ask you to take this water down there so we don't spill it, because electronics and water don't go together. There we go.
Where are you going to take it there, Ann?
Good to push it?
We're going to push it or
Just pull it so they can,
we might be fastened down though.
okay.
Tell you what, let's just unplug this.
Okay, let's just leave it then, if it's going to be too much. We'll just do it over.
No,
on the side.
it should be okay. It'll only take us 2 seconds to do.
Thank you.
We need to use that for that, sorry.
Am I good on this? Okay, well, we're just doing this quick adjustment. So thank you to everyone. Big round of applause for yourself. $624.35 going to our food banks in this area. So thank you. Yes, I made my contribution with the cell phone. All righty. And I'll just start to do the reading while we're doing that. I didn't realize we would have so many issues this one. All righty. Okay, next we're going to talk a little about welcoming a diversified workforce. Today we've heard nonstop about this is one of the top issues we face. There is no silver bullet, one solution here. It's a multi-pronged approach that we need to consider. I'm delighted with the afternoon's panel who are discussing developing a welcoming, diversified workforce. And this is something that these individuals have figured out ways to make it work and are going to share a little about their programs. So please welcome to the stage, I think we're nearly there, Please welcome to the stage Melissa Francis, who is with the St. Lawrence-Rideau Immigration Partnership, Damian Ford, who is with the Southbridge Care Homes in Kemptville, Andrew Melcher, who is IN Engineering and Surveying from Brockville, Richard Webster from St. Lawrence College, and Tracy McDonald from CSE Consulting. And Melissa, you're all set? Are you all mic'd? I think we're
so.
good.
Am
Are
I
we good
on?
from the mic side?
Yeah.
All righty, over to Melissa.
Okay. Thanks
Thank
so
you.
much, Anne. And good afternoon, everybody. It's so nice to see a sea of in-person faces for once. I hope you're enjoying the day. I'm going to jump right in here because Shelby has told me I'm on a very tight schedule. So I have Damian, Andrew, Richard, and Tracy here. And we're going to start with our employer questions this morning, or this afternoon. So Damian, we'll start with you.
Perfect.
Can you tell us a bit about your business's story and what led you to the decision to hire immigrants?
Yeah, definitely. So originally we were Bayfield Manor. Those of you familiar with it, it was a smaller home, so it was half retirement, half long-term care. We have since opened Southbridge, Kemptville, tripling the size of our long-term care. And Bayfield is starting phase 1 right now of renovations. We're basically everyone's moved from there to the long-term care home, and we're going to renovate that side and make it all retirement. In doing so, there's been some staffing challenges, as I'm sure we've all felt. So, in terms of the decision to hire immigrants, it was a really easy choice for us. I mean, we need people. They bring some great qualities to our place of work, and if we can embrace them and bring them in and get, find value in what they bring to us, and they find value in what we can offer them, that's what we're looking for, right? So, our residents love them. It's really cool to see residents interact with them and hear their stories as much as they're hearing the residents' stories.
Great, thanks, Damian. And Andrew, same question for you. Just give us a little bit of background about your business and what led you to the decision to hire immigrants.
Yeah, so I started, everyone can hear me okay, right? Yeah, okay. So I started my engineering business in 2018. In 2020, we bought and merged with Colette Surveying, creating an engineering and surveying. In 2020, we were at 6 people, and that was 5 days before the first lockdown, so a great time to take over a business. But since 2020, we've grown to 30 people, and I don't know if it was like a deliberate hiring of immigrants, but when you're looking for very specific technical skills to round out your team, we got a lot of great resumes. So they're predominantly students from the area or from local universities, or from the area at least, that we actually brought and moved down to Brockville. We were actually able to relocate 2 Ukrainians, one family and then another gentleman, which was, my hat's off to the federal government. It was actually super easy for us to hire Ukrainians. I think we posted on the job bank, and then, we found somebody. 3 weeks later, they're in Canada and working. So because the process was so streamlined, it was amazing. And the war in Ukraine is terrible, but there's a lot of really skilled people there. So we were able to bring on 2 architects from Ukraine and bring those skills to our office. So again, it wasn't quite deliberate, but it just seems to be the way we filled out our team.
Great, thanks. I have a quick question about the hiring. Apart from the Ukrainian families, were you posted on the federal site? Is that right? How did you find your newcomer staff? Is there a specific?
Yeah, so the Ukrainians, they came from the job bank, and then for the most part, we're pretty active on social media and we're constantly looking for people. So they just apply directly, and when you see that they have the skills on their resume, whether it's their Canadian skills or foreign skills, technical skills are very translatable across the world. So we really just looked at that on the resume. So it's mostly direct hires, and also the Employment Education Center in Brockville is a big help to us as well.
Okay.
Yeah, and for us, we actually, with Tracy's help, have been hiring also a couple of Ukrainians as well. Right now, in the healthcare sector, though, finding PSWs and nurses and RPNs, very difficult. So what we've had to do is look to agencies, actually, for temporary work, meaning a lot of our agency staff right now are immigrants new to Toronto who are here for about 6 months and working very hard for us, and we appreciate all the work they're doing for us. So that's really helped fill the gaps that we needed right now. I'd love for it to be easier in terms of hiring nurses from other countries. Right now, it's very difficult. So I'm happy to see that's being addressed right now in the House of Commons and how we fix that. Yeah, so that's kind of a majority of where our immigrants are coming from right now. There are more and more moving to the area, which is great because different skill sets and ways we can find help for us through them. So. Yeah.
Okay, thanks. Andrew, what are some of the benefits that you're seeing from having hired newcomers for some of your positions?
Yeah, so like in our world, we do a lot of math and drafting and that sort of stuff. So those technical skills, you don't have to be a fluent English speaker to really affect the office. Math is a universal language, so we're very lucky that way. It's not like hiring a nurse where you have to understand medications, but in our world, the math is universal. So, we hire these people, and again, it wasn't deliberate, but it's just they have great skills on paper. They have great professional documents, and I also find like the work ethic is really there, and because they're very motivated to contribute to the community, especially the Ukrainians. Like we brought them from an unsafe environment to a very safe and amazing community, and they're internally grateful. So that you do see that in their work ethic, and they want to impress you, and they want to work hard, and they want to say thank you by doing their job really well. So, and then as far as internationally trained students, most of them come from like a master's degree or bachelor's degree within Canada, and so they do start getting the training you need for them to perform a job of like an engineering intern, that sort of stuff. So especially international students, it's I barely notice, to be honest, most of the time, but yeah, we do get a really good skill set and some very hardworking individuals.
Great. And what about you, Damian? What kind of benefits are you seeing?
Yeah, I mean, to echo, it's been amazing seeing the work ethic that many of them have. And it's infectious in a way in terms of the people who have been with us for a while. Building off of seeing someone work as hard as they are and challenging them. So that's been a huge benefit. Other benefits is just having the stories, like I said earlier, among our residents and the immigrants, and some of the stories are similar. We've got some of our residents who maybe weren't born in Canada, able to share their stories as well. But it's just really cool, seeing everyone interacting and learning from each other, and hearing everyone's different stories and backgrounds as they work. So, yeah, brings the team together. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, so we're going to move on to Richard. Is my mic still on? Still on. No? It's okay? Okay. So moving on to Richard Webster from St. Lawrence College. No? Okay. Better? All right. Okay. So again, Richard Webster from St. Lawrence College. And the first question I have is if you could tell us a bit about your role at the college and the impact that your work has on the community.
Absolutely. Can everyone hear me okay? Okay, great. So to give you a bit of context around my role as well, so at St. Lawrence College, we welcome international students every year now from over 60 countries to our region. So I think that is something to be celebrated. We have students, international students in Cornwall, Brockville, and Kingston. And we have over 2,000 international students right now across the region. So, something really exciting. They're studying in over our programs that are diploma, degree, and graduate certificate programs in a whole range of areas. But with bringing international students, there's a lot of work that we need to do as an institution, but also as a region to retain them as well. So my role is really focused on that community development piece. So a big focus of my role, I'm about a year into this position now, has really been about connecting with community. So connecting with community organizations, learning about some of the gaps that are currently there for newcomers, so particularly international students, what they can access, what isn't there, and so forth. But then also with employers. So we need to make sure that employers are aware of this growing demographic, because we do imagine that these numbers will continue to rise for a number of different reasons. But really important that our international students, when they're graduates, that they can stay in the community and work if they want to, because they're educated and trained. And a lot of our international students come with a whole host of previous experience, previous qualifications from their home countries, and really looking to work. And I would say also that when they're studying, they're looking to work as well. And I'll talk about that shortly. But in terms of the actual impact, so what I've been doing and holding me accountable, I like this question, really been out there talking to students and alumni first and foremost, because we need to know from them what is missing in our institution, but then more importantly in our communities as well. So what do we need to do to make them feel welcome and for them to know that they can stay in our region after graduation? So hearing about those challenges that they face, and then really just getting out there and speaking to employers. I've talked to, I think it's probably about 150 employers so far across the region. And I can tell you every single employer that I talk to says very similar things. They're having a hard time attracting and retaining talent. So that's why I'm really happy to be here to talk to you about this growing demographic that can help address that. And more than happy to chat after this about how you can attract and retain international students as well. But those are some of the biggest things. And then beyond that, I'd also just highlight that we're trying to work on events to ease that transition for these international students into our community. So for example, just a little shout out to the back there, to the Employment and Education Center from Brockville. We partnered with them in September to welcome our international students to the Brockville community. We gave them a bus tour of the community, so they got to see the community with us, with a community partner, and see some of the sites, see where some of the services are, and so forth. So again, really to ease their transition. So that would be another big one.
Good. Thanks, Richard.
Thank you.
And Tracy, CSC Consulting. What are some of the specific things or initiatives that are going on at CSC that help to support people looking for work, newcomers looking for work, and also employers wanting to hire?
Excellent, thank you. I'm really excited to share with you a little bit about some of our programs. Lots of familiar faces in the crowd, but lots of new faces too. We are a partner in the Employment Ontario network of service providers, offering services both in North Grenville and in South Grenville. In Leeds County, two other service providers are offering the same services. The Employment and Education Center, who is here in Brockville, and then Keys Job Center in Kingston. Part of our mandate is to provide free services to our employers and just really be a resource for them for all of their recruiting needs. And we understand that how important it is for employers to be able to attract and retain the right people. And it can be a pretty time-consuming and costly event. And so our employer services really are here to help our employers to save time and money. And so for any of you who have used our services or are interested, job boards are available, free online job boards. We do assist in the recruitment for screening. We can assist with hosting job fairs, and that was what we did with Damian and the Southbridge crew. We were able to host an in-person job fair while still maintaining social distancing, of course, during COVID, to help ease their churn. And we also have the potential of added value of offering job placements, so we can test and hire. And by doing that, we can offer incentives to offset the initial training costs. And that's something that has been very popular to assist our employers. In addition to that, we have the flip side, where we work directly with all of our job seekers. And so on a day-to-day basis, our resource centers are open with computers and, high-speed internet. We talked about bandwidth and connectivity issues. To someone who is in a vulnerable population, that's something that is critical, right, for us to be open and ready. And so we do have that available to our job seekers, but we're also looking at preparing them with resume writing and interview prep and job search techniques in general. So it just gives a little bit of an overview. Sometimes we're connecting people to training opportunities. So for instance, this morning we heard several different opportunities that were being presented, or funding opportunities that were presented with the Better Jobs Ontario program, which was formerly the Second Career program. Lots of skills development funds that were being offered for micro-credentialing. And again, the PSW and healthcare field was of great impact to impacting our labor market there. I think one of the other areas that we do like to say is that we're a hub for accessing community and outreach services. And this is where it gets interesting, because we also offer services to persons with disabilities and those that are the most removed. Another one would be the newcomer services. And so if you can imagine someone coming to Canada from halfway across the world, not having a firm grasp of the language, not knowing how to navigate the current Canadian workforce, it's pretty overwhelming. So, we're here as first point of contact to make sure that they have their SIN number so that they can work in Canada, to make sure that they have the work permits that are available. And although we're not settlement workers, we certainly do operate much as a GPS system in kind of steering our newcomers to the services that they need to grow and work towards fostering jobs in the area. Oftentimes that means that they are working on a survival job first, or doing volunteering to leverage and gain some Canadian experience. The three biggest barriers, of course, with our newcomers are that they don't have Canadian education, and they need to have their credentials recognized, that their language is a barrier, and then they don't have the Canadian experience. And it's really hard to gain that Canadian experience. So being able to leverage volunteer opportunities or work with a mentor. We're always looking for mentors out there, if there are any employers that would love to sign up for that job. And then certainly having job placement opportunities that we can work with our local employers to get them in place. So I think that's really sort of what I wanted to talk about. And there's so much that I could talk about, But
We could have a whole day for Tracy.
But that really, it's a win-win situation. I think I just want to say that we're always out there. Our job developers are out there in all of our centers, and we are forging relationships with the employers so that we can make job matches, and we can certainly assist by using incentives to help to get people employed. So, good. Thank you.
Thanks, Tracy. Richard, back to you. Tracy was just talking about some of the challenges that newcomers face. Do you want to talk a little bit about international student challenges when they're looking for work?
Absolutely. So with international students, I mentioned earlier that while they're studying, the vast majority are looking to work while they're studying at St. Lawrence College, but also post-graduation. So many looking to stay and work afterwards. And I wanted to share a few stats with you as well. So these are a little dated, but in 2018, international students contributed over $22 billion to the Canadian economy. So $22.3 billion. It's a really big contribution. They contributed to creating over 218,000 jobs in the country as well. And there was a study done for Global Affairs in 2017 as well, and they found that per international student studying at the college level, they contribute over $36,000 to the local economy. So that includes tuition, living costs, transit, entertainment, all of those things. So really big economic drivers while they're here. And so another reason why I think we need to do more to really kind of overcome some of those challenges. And so certainly one of the biggest challenges, I would say, is employer awareness. So that's part of why in my job I'm out talking to employers and trying to raise awareness about this amazing, talented demographic that wants to be here and wants to work. But really trying to remove some of those, whether it's misconceptions or point of confusion for employers, and for good reason. I mean, honestly, if you look at the IRCC website, no disrespect to IRCC, but it's very confusing. I mean, there's a lot of information everywhere. And so for good reason, busy employers find it difficult to really navigate the system. So employer awareness, big one. I would also say the openness of employers as well, because one of the biggest roadblocks that I hear for international students and recent grads is this idea of Canadian experience. And yes, it is, in my view, it is important, of course, for things like nursing and other professions that's really required, but that's not required for every single position. So I really would encourage those of you that are in the room that are employers that often look for that, try to reevaluate what you're looking for specifically when you're saying Canadian experience. So that's a big one. The lack of professional network, of course, as well. So in comparison to a Canadian student, a Canadian grad, they don't have the same type, they haven't had the same amount of time to build their networks. So that's another big challenge that can create some barriers for them. Also learning about working in Canada. Of course, we do our best while they're studying with us for a year or for 2 years at St. Lawrence College, but that's quite a learning curve for anyone, let alone if you're moving from across the world from a completely different culture, work setting, and so forth. So important to be mindful of that. Employment and immigration supports to navigate the system itself. So at the point of graduation for an international student, they no longer can receive immigration supports or career services supports. And then there's a gap within the system itself, so they can't typically access career services within funded organizations as well. So it creates this gap where these students, they're trying to navigate on their own within our communities. And so certainly a really big challenge for them as well. And then finally, I would just say for recent grads, a lot of them, so when they're here and they're working after graduation, they're on what's called a postgraduate work permit or a PGWP. So you may have heard of that before. And it's an open work permit that allows them to work here for up to 3 years, depending on the length of their study program. So if they study for 2 years, they can work here for 3 years. Work for any eligible employer in any position across the country. But the big piece there is that if they want to get their permanent residency, which the vast majority do, for good reason, they're looking for positions that give them experience in NOC codes 0, A, and B. And it kind of sounds, quite technical, but it's really important because you may hear that as an employer and they're looking for specific experiences. So whether that's professional, managerial, or skilled trades areas, that's really what they're looking for. So they're looking for full-time work to fit that, to help support their PR application. So those are some of the top challenges that I've seen.
Thanks, Richard. Okay, we're good. Okay, we're going to go back to our employers. Just wondering about any challenges that you've had in hiring newcomers, whether it was maybe attitudes of existing staff or the training process, language, sometimes that comes up. Are there any challenges that you'd want to chat about?
Yeah, for sure. Language is never easy. I can't imagine going to another country not knowing the language. But in saying that, there's so much technology out there now that makes it, a little bit easier for them. I just onboarded someone this week actually, and her English was not her first language. So what we did is I was able to translate everything using my phone through Google Translate to make sure that she was comfortable and understood what I was trying to say, and I understood what she was trying to say. So that's definitely a challenge. Another challenge would be, there is some culture shock for sure. What we think is acceptable in terms of how people act, in different countries is different, right? So it's all about, establishing expectations, keeping lines of communication open with them, so they understand what we expect from them, and they understand vice versa there. So, that's very key. But again, it's very important. You know, if you look at the demographics of Canada right now, people are saying there's a labor shortage, and there is. And when you look at the 18 to 24-year-old demographic, it's one of the smallest working demographics in Canada right now. And one of the biggest ones is those who are about to leave the workforce due to their age. So this is something we need to look at in terms of bringing more people into Canada and accepting them into employment roles as we strengthen our workforce and our country.
Thanks. Andrew, any challenges?
Yeah, certainly. So we have tried to hire directly from international applicants, and I have yet to crack the code on that process. It's quite difficult. We came pretty close one time, but then it got messed up with immigration lawyers. So there's something there that I got to figure out yet. The other one is, obviously we're looking for people that can fill a professional role. So professional engineers or Ontario land surveyors, registered professional planners. And there is a requirement to get your license to have that 1-year Canadian experience requirement, which I believe there's legislation where that's about to go away. So there is potential that we could bring someone internationally and get them their professional engineering license within Ontario without working for us for a year. But that is a bit of a barrier when you're looking for professional people. And then the last one is, we all love our community. This is the greatest rural community, I think, in Ontario. And living in a small town isn't for everybody. So one of our interview questions is did you grow up in a small town? Do you want to be in a small town? Do you hope to go back to GTA someday? Because we want to make sure that the people we're bringing on want to stay here, because we're going to put in a ton of effort into training them. And we've been very lucky to keep applicants that they really like Brockville. They move here and they're like, oh, this reminds me of home. It's such a small town, and everybody's friendly and knows everyone, and that's a huge selling feature. But it's also not for everybody, so we do have to vet that during the hiring process.
Great. Thanks to you both.
Okay, thank you so much. And I just want to give an opportunity to any employer. Is there a question of the panel that you want? Because this is our biggest issue from a workforce perspective. Is there anyone that wants to ask a question about working with international individuals? Anyone? Okay. You want to ask a question? Okay, we'll make a special situation for you here.
Thank you. I'm not an employer, but I do have a question about healthcare, and I am a registered nurse. I am trying to retire again, so don't offer me a job, please.
Come on.
But I certainly advocate for patients and want them to have the best quality and safe care. So my question is regarding Southbridge. So for Damian, recent stats show that 90% of long-term care residents in Ontario have some level of cognitive impairment, and 70% of seniors have been diagnosed already with some level of dementia, and it's progressive. It'll continue to get worse. I've recently found out, and was very disturbed when I found this out, that Southbridge, the new facility, will not accept patients who have a diagnosis of dementia, which is very disturbing because the need is so great. And I've heard that it's because of lack of staff. Is that right? Is that why there's no? And that's just my first question.
Yeah, great question. So that would be more, and I do apologize, I'm not trying to skirt the answer here, but that is more of an admissions question. I'm more on the HR side of things. So great question. I'll love to follow up with you on that if we can. But yeah.
Super. Thank you. Sorry, we're out of time, but perhaps you guys can take it offline after. And but about housing, yes. It's a question that we have that we're going to have to continue more topics on, but we'd like to thank our panel. Big round of applause for them. And Shelby and I have some tokens of appreciation. It's certainly, I'm going to say some of you are hanging around for a little bit afterwards, and we've just got one last presentation, and then we're going to wrap today up. So thank you, each of you. appreciate your time in coming in. It's a very important topic, and it's just one of the ways in which we can address workforce in this region. Congratulations and thank you, and do reach out to the employment agencies to help in solving your issues on this. They do a great job, all three of them, and I can't say that enough, so thank you. All righty. So cruise was one of the expansions that we heard about, but let's not forget there's others in this region. Arctic Acres, in Rideau Lakes is expanding. Northern Cables, I know they're going to be expanding. And also Greenfield Global is still currently expanding. Prismium in Johnstown is expanding. Voltaire Electric in Merrickville-Wolford. New high-speed electric boats being built there. Pickle and Merthyr expanding. So much expansion happening. Many, many more. One of the largest announcements. Okay, one of the largest announcements in the region this year was Leclerc in Brockville, who was brought to the region by the St. Lawrence Economic Commission corridor to fill the vacancy of the P&G building. This is a $100 million investment with over 234 jobs over 2 years, and is anticipated to generate $133.4 million of direct, indirect, and induced income into Eastern Ontario. This is a great news story. We're certainly inviting them to come to the summit, but weren't quite ready yet this year. Let them get, similar to what we did with Giant Tiger, let them get established, and we'll see if they bring us cookies next year. As of October, and this will relate to some of the other speakers that we've had, the unemployment rate, and we fall between two in catchment areas. So the unemployment rate for Kingston, this is October 22, Kingston and Pembroke was 4.7%. And in Ottawa, which captures another portion of our area, was 4.2. Leeds, Grenville is in these two areas. Both of these regions that include us, are lower than the Ontario unemployment rate at 5.8. Okay, so this is a big reason as to why we're hearing the difficulty. Our unemployment rate in this area is very low compared even to the provincial area. When it comes to industry and growth, it is projected by the end of the year, we'll see job growth of 271 jobs by the end of 2022. This only includes companies that have employees, not those that are self-employed. And we have a very high percentage of that in this region. Highest areas of job growth, healthcare and social services, followed by administration and support, waste management and remediation. Sector growth is similar to what we have seen in past years. Before, we used to see it heavily into the manufacturing. They're heavily going robotic and digital, and now we're seeing that job growth go into our healthcare. We're an aging society. The 5-year projections, we are seeing the same industry growth projection of 841 jobs being created between 2022 and 2025. So this year, we did the survey that we've done in past, and we wanted to really understand our local economy. And so we did this survey from the period of October 4th to the 30th, and we had 340 businesses respond from all different areas. During the pandemic, we started with this survey to get a sense of how could we help support business, and how can the working group get help to them. Here's the breakdown of municipalities on the number of respondents and somewhat reflective of the number of businesses in each municipality. Individual municipal report breakdowns will be provided to each municipality. Hopefully, we'll have them done before the holidays to give you a Christmas present. And also, so as you as councils will have a stronger indication of what's happening within your municipality. So this is the regional report, and we'll give you just a flavor and sampling of this. The survey had a solid mix of two types of businesses, the different types of business, retail being the highest to respond, and that has been the case for 2 years, but we are very heavy in retail. 91% of the respondents have 19 or less employees, and you can see the number that actually don't have and are self-employed as the top one there at 36.58. This is a reflective number that 90.85% of the business, is nearly 91% in this region, is small business, and this is the importance of small business in our region. Nearly 70% of businesses indicated their activity level today, this is as of October, compared to pre-pandemic levels, are the same or higher. This is great news for our region. We still need to continue to support that other 70% as we continue to navigate the pandemic. Nearly 74% are confident their demand levels, because we had thought, okay, the growth is good, but are they confident this is going to continue? 74% are confident that this will continue. Again, this is great news. In speaking with some businesses, we knew this might be the case, but it's actually now nice to see it in the numbers. This also reflects why, with that amount of growth and confidence, why our unemployment rate is so low in this region. There's a little concern here, but hopefully Pierre's comments earlier today will change that. Nearly 47% of businesses in the region are not confident in the strength of the current economy. But on the flip side, 53% are neutral and confident. So hopefully with this thought of growth is going to slow, but not stop. So this is good news. This is also an encouraging slide. Oh, hang on. Didn't click, there we go. Encouraging slide for us as it validates our reason to why we focused on business retention and growth. Specifically, digital services support. I'll speak more shortly on the numbers associated with this, and you've heard some of that testimonial earlier. We still know that over 100 businesses of the 340 surveyed are still seeking digital support. This was not the case when we went into the pandemic, and you heard some of that testimony of some didn't even have websites or even existing or connecting to e-commerce, and you're now seeing the difference on what this can make. Biggest challenges in business is seeing are increasing product prices, we've heard that, and increased overhead costs. And so the numbers from 7 to 10 are the highest on the ranking. Biggest challenges when it comes to workforce, as anticipated, we've heard this so far, is challenges in attracting new employees, and now we've just heard how we can perhaps look at different ways to do that, followed by the ability to pay competitive wages. And we are hearing that people are having to increase wages in order to retain their employees. Workforce. It was an open-ended question asking what should the region focus on to address workforce shortages. And this was open-ended, so what we've done is a word cloud sees common words: training, affordable housing, and incentives. And so we're hearing some of that, and again, we need those additional incentives to make opportunities happen for that training background. Support for businesses. What were their top 3 areas of support? Again, it was an open question. The most helpful ones was marketing and advertising of the region and its businesses, funding, grants, and also support for small business. And being the area that we are in, we can understand why that came up. Business expectations for 2023. For continued increased business and hope of growth, overall fairly optimistic, I would say. Businesses are looking to increase, and we're seeing that continuously. We'll keep our fingers crossed that it's the rest of the Ontario that slows down, and we'll just continue to grow. Our work doesn't stop here. 124 businesses out of those surveyed are asking for additional support. That's not only digital, but also in the way of what other funding programs. And I just had an email yesterday saying regrets, but I need help on funding programs. So we're looking to see how we continue. And that's where the county's made that additional investment in having Shelby's position, the business development officer, so that we could get out and visit with as many businesses as possible and getting visitations in to see how we can support. And the digital support has been the other area. So here's some of the numbers. In this survey, we discussed the positive results we are seeing on the online and the 5 digital squads. This is the impact of what happened here. 1,289 businesses have been helped in the past 2 years. That's remarkable. And this is as of November of this, I think it was last week actually, so 220 of the businesses, so 220 of those 3 people that you just saw received that digital transformation grant. New investment of the area, which meant in total was $550,000. The OBIA have spent time and with us and also supporting the digital services, all 5 of them, which increased the overall investment in the region to $1.124 million have been brought into the region, whether through grants or support money to help our businesses. Because not everyone's eligible for the grant, but doesn't mean they're not eligible for help. And that's being provided by our digital services. As of April 1, 2022, the United Counties of Leeds and Grenville agreed to manage the contract with the Ministry of Economic Development, Job Creation and Trade for the Leeds Grenville Small Business Center. For the past 20 years, this has been done by the City of Brockville. After a best practices report, it was completed and agreed that this was the best opportunity for further integration and opportunities to work together. And with that, why was that? Well, because a lot of the municipalities that we work with are members of the counties, United Counties. And Rob Nolan and I, who's here today, work very heavily and continue to collaborate along with our other partner municipalities to make sure those services continue seamlessly. I'm delighted to have Jeanette Johnson, wave back there, under the county's umbrella, as well as Carol Hardy. Is she still out in, oh, there's Carol on the side, join our team. And they will be remaining focused, as you heard, the importance of small business in this region. This integration is going on currently, and Carol and Jeanette will be moving over to the county's Economic Development Office in January. Since April to September of this year, they have already received up to 713 inquiries with 25 businesses that have been started and 26 jobs created in this area. The summer company program had an amazing 5 students, and it was amazing to see them blossom. And they are now in the process of conducting interviews for their starter company plus, and we anticipate to see 12 new companies starting up under this program. County's Economic Development was asked to host the regional showcase, and you heard Mayor Peckford talking a little about this. Just to kind of give you a little highlight of what happened there. We started with a blank field at the IBM, and then it became this overnight, just like that. There was lots of mud, there was lots of fun in pulling this together, but a city was created overnight. And you can see our footprint just in the red outline. This is the area that we featured. Over 50 exhibitors came into the Leeds Grenville Showcase. There was activations of all types, and certainly their booths were outstanding. So I appreciate everyone that was involved in that. I know North Grenville also had a showcase area, and what a tremendous event this was. One of the things I wanted to talk a little about of how do we get more information and manage that information. And one of the key things that if we want to promote the businesses, and this is what they've asked us to do, is help promote them, we need to make sure we have the data to help do that. So we have an interactive real-time business directory that is integrated also into many of the other municipal sites. If it's not, it can be. This helps provide ease of maintenance for the business. So it gets into the county site and automatically goes into the municipal site. This data also supports the tourism directory and associated webpage. Currently, we have 4,239 businesses, and we'll add the extra 26 that are coming on board. I noted this is a live directory, so things change minute to minute, and we don't always know. So if you see a business that's no longer operating, please let us know that. And if you know of a business that is opening, please let us know that too. Our main communication vehicle is our bi-weekly e-newsletter, and Deanna Clark is one of the individuals that goes out and does all the community profiles, and the team contributes to all the different workshops and collecting, and this is a regional thing. So if you have workshops going on that's of interest to business, we'll put them into the newsletter. And also, if you have not subscribed to this, the way to do that is investleadsgrenville.com/enews. Currently, we have this going out to 2,512 subscribers, and hear this, 42% open rate, which is very, very high. Industry standard is around 15%, and we've had an increase of 6% over the last over the last 12 months. So key piece, and everyone certainly enjoys all the stories, and Deanna does an amazing job in getting that information out. You heard about the tourism strategy, and this is one of the key things that we have undertaken this year, recognizing that tourism was one of the hardest hit industries. On July 6th, County's Council received the Regional Tourism Destination Strategy. The vision is to become a year-round destination, and our mission is to nurture regional tourism culture that clearly, inclusively, and collectively balances the needs of our visitors, tourism partners, communities, and environment. In the short term, we'll be developing a business plan for implementation of the strategy while also moving forward with the brand and product experience development. And you just heard Bonnie say that's the hottest item, and that's where we're focusing on as well. More is to come on the tourism side. We recognize that this sector was heavily hit during the pandemic, hence the desire to make sure in rebuilding it, we're taking a very strategic approach. Our 6 strategic areas of focus was passed in 2020, December 2020, and then we had the pandemic. And one of the things that we've always taken a look at, no matter how we're acting, are we still staying true with our strategic areas of focus? And throughout the year, there has been numerous activities that have occurred, some of which you heard about today, and happy to share absolutely all of them with you, more perhaps when we have a post-event cocktail, because I could go on for hours and hours. So that is your economic update. And so I like to finish early and just look at this. There we go. I'm just going to have a proud moment here. So without further ado, I'd like to thank everyone for coming. A couple of things that we want to make sure that you do. Save the date for 2023. We hope to be right back where we are here, Friday, November 17th. And then the following year is when we go back a week for the leap year, somewhere in there. So this one is Friday, November 17th. It's always the week before Black Friday. Summit evaluations. Everyone got their summit evaluations? Please make sure you fill them out. It is extremely important so we know what we can improve upon and things that you think, hey, maybe we should do next year as well. Name tag recycling. Drop the little plastic pieces off on your way out. And you can keep the lanyards, but we will reuse the plastic. Return the tag there. And I wish everyone, thank you to all our speakers, but most of all, thank you to each and every one of you who have attended today. We greatly appreciate you coming. Please have a safe drive home and a wonderful weekend. Thank you.